Good afternoon, fans, and welcome to Lemoyne Field. Non-conference matchup on a Saturday. It's raining yet again here in Waterbury, Connecticut. It seems like every Saturday when we have an outdoor event, it's been raining so far this fall, and today is no different. So we have only one camera set up underneath the tent. Derek Mosher running the camera today. We've got a few people taking photos down low, Jack Olson and Julia Regano, and we've got everybody up here helping us out for today's broadcast. The lone game today in Waterbury, Connecticut for the Eagles, as your Eagles coming into the day with 5 consecutive wins by the way of the shutout, a program record. Soren Jensen will be in net. He only played half of last game, and because he only played half of last game, he did not set the shutout record for most consecutive games with the shutout. That is still held by the team last year who had 4 straight shutouts. So even though 5 on the leaderboard overall is set with this team, the 2023 edition, they still do not have, Soren Jensen does not have the overall record because he only played the first 45 minutes of that 3-0 win at Bloomfield. You have to play the full game to get the shutout win. So that's where we stand today. Jensen looking to potentially make history in net if you were to play all 90 minutes today. We're ready for kickoff here in a moment. It'll be the Owls kicking it off from left to right. Eagles will go from right to left on your screen. Pardon me, it'll actually be the Eagles kicking it off. So they'll be going attacking to the left. Southern Connecticut attacking to the right. We thank you for joining us today. The only other game going around for your Eagles is football down at Pace University. They started about an hour ago. We'll get a score update for you in a little bit on that as we're underway here. And Anganastiadis is going to get that one first over to Andrea Birdie. Birdie now up the left side, up to the 50-yard line. He's going to pass it back to Anaganastiadis. Into the backfield, that's Nassen with it. Nassen over to Tao, who's making the start today. And this is something that we talked about in the last broadcast for the men's soccer team. It seems like they play very methodically in terms of you're going to see a lot of passing in the backfield on the defensive end. They like to set their pieces down on the offensive end and then try and get something working for them offensively. Last game, they scored less than 2 minutes into the match. It was a goal. It was an own goal for Bloomfield. And then it was Aritz Uriate who leads the team in goals. 4th in the CACC this year in total goals scored. He's been the offensive weapon for the Eagles. He's had 3 or 4 game-winning goals so far this year now. This Birdie's going to kick that one in deep over to Florindo. Nice stop by Florindo on the offensive end. It's been all Eagles here in the first about minute and a half. Cross pass over there, flying in to try and get it was Souza, not able to head it towards the net. And that one's going to go out, and we'll have a throw in here. It'll be Nathan Tao. Tao throws it in. It just goes off of Ludwig's foot. That'll be a throw-in now for Southern Connecticut. They'll look to see if they can get some firm possession going here, as through the first 2 minutes it's been entirely controlled by the Eagles in the Battle of the Birds in Connecticut. Right back to the Eagles it goes, and now it's up into the front side on the offensive end. Uriate kind of tried to head it there, not able to get to anybody. Now the other way with it comes Southern Connecticut for the first time, looking to move something into the offensive zone, up to the 50 with it. That was Razzo. Razzo passing it over to the left side to Jean. That one goes out of bounds. There'll be a throw-in yet again for the Eagles. Tao, it looks like he's starting in place of Marcus Botungi. Usually we see Marcus Botungi starting in the game, and Botungi is not out there starting for this one. That one's pushed ahead to Ludwig. Uriate into the back. Birdie's going to get the call there. I think he kind of embellished a little bit when he ran into Catali, but nonetheless, Eagles get the call, and Birdie's right back up on his feet like nothing happened, and they're back into the offensive zone at the 40-yard line over to Florindo on the left side. Florindo now going to whale that one towards the middle over to Uriate, who heads it back over to Relova. Relova now back up to Anaganastiadis. Anaganastiadis from about the 35, crossing it over to Florindo, and that one's headed away by Catali. Catali kicking it. That should go out of bounds. No, it's actually not going to. They call a foul down low on Catali against Florindo, it looks like. And nope, actually out of bounds, completely out of bounds, it looked like on that far end. So we'll get a corner kick here, the first of the day for either team. It'll be Francisco Souza, who's helped lead to a few goals inside the box for the Eagles this year, and he did it in the last matchup at home. He's crossed that one way too far. Headed over there, it looks like by Relova, wide of the net left. Devin Juan in goal, the junior goalkeeper from Meriden, Connecticut, for Southern Connecticut. Southern Connecticut coming off a 1-0 loss to number 1 in the nation, Franklin Pierce. Franklin Pierce was a team that the Eagles lost to 3-0 on their home field earlier this year. But the Eagles wins 1-0 3 times, 3-0 twice. Last home game against Georgian Court got that 3-0 win, and it was Denny Iljazzy with 2 goals in 13 minutes of playing time. We talked to Iljazzy after that game, and he was talking about how he thought he had a chance at a hat trick in that one. Right in front of us, Seuss is going to head that one out of bounds, and it'll go the other way for the Owls, who have not been able to really do much of anything against this Eagles team. It's coming into this game, Southern Connecticut, 2-6-1. They did just have that loss to Franklin Pierce, like I mentioned, but when you're going against number 1 in the nation and it's only a 1-0 loss, you got to feel pretty good about yourself. So momentum building. You're playing the 12th team in the nation right now, so back-to-back ranked matches for Southern Connecticut. A chance to prove themselves here against the Eagles like they did against Franklin Pierce the other day. As they're kind of working it around in the backfield now. It's kind of similar to what we saw the Eagles do. Four straight losses for the Owls coming today, all by the way of the shutout. And the shutout's been the bread and butter for the Eagles in the past 2 weeks. Losses of 1-0 3 times and a loss of 3-0 to Adelphi on their resume. Their last win, a 1-0 win against St. Rose back on the 16th of September. So it's been just under a month since they've gotten their last win. They started the year 1-0 with a win at at home against Dominican, a CACC opponent of the Eagles. Tied Bridgeport, again another CACC opponent, and lost to Mercy and Queens before dropping 4 of their last 5 matchups. And for the Eagles, it's been all we do is win since their loss to Franklin Pierce at home. Like I mentioned, 5 straight wins for them coming into the day, and they really have controlled the tempo in all those games. If you get a foul called there, Saeed falls to the ground. A healthy mix of locals from Connecticut and internationals for the Owls. For Ted Haley's post team, it's mostly international students that have come to play for his 12th ranked Eagles. As Souza, looked like he worked right around him, but got a throw in. So it's a throw in for the Eagles. It looks like Lops down there got a foot on it, was able to just knock it outside, even though it looked like Souza made a nice run down the left side of the pitch into the offensive zone. Souza's got it right back, and that one's going to be intercepted in the middle. The Owls wearing that darker blue with white on the back and the blue colors for the SCSU, as that one's going to be headed in front, and I believe they're going to get... No, it sounded like I heard a whistle. No whistle there. The Owls wearing that kit. A little bit tough to see the numbers on the back depending on which way they're turned, front and back, just because of the sizing on them. So that one was kicked in there by Florindo. Now back out to Defensive Player of the Week, Felipe Garcia, who held Matthias Modesbacher last week to no shots on goal in just over 60 minutes of play. Garcia was the primary defender for him in that matchup and was able to keep him in check. Garcia with a nice touch pass there to Florindo, who just kicks it across the pitch. He was looking over there to see if he could get number 21 for the Eagles, and that was Relova. Soren Jensen also made the honor roll for the CACC Weekly Awards. The Jefferson goalkeeper getting Goalkeeper of the Week. It was a toss-up to go either way. Jensen did have less saves than that one, but then you could look at the resume and say, well, Jensen technically did get the 1-0 win against the Rams earlier in the week. But a little bit of a toss-up there in terms of the overall numbers, because they did end up getting a win later on in the week, 2-1. A lot of neutral zone play here right now, and that one's punted way out of here. Be a throw-in for the Eagles. It'll be Tao. On and off rain showers. It's been pretty overcast for most of the day. We had a brief a brief bit of rain come through literally about 5 minutes before. Then it stopped, then it started, then it stopped. We're probably going to be contending with the weather all day today with this one as Birdie trying to wrestle that one away from Surratt. Can't do so, and now over there to get it is Catali. Catali's going to keep that one in. Nice play. That's going to end up being a goal kick as it goes to the far side. Jensen will get that goal kick over there as Garcia gets the ball flipped to him. 36 minutes and change coming on in this game, about 9 minutes deep, and it's not really been a whole lot of offensive chances. You had Uriarte a little while ago with the header in the box that he just missed, and you had Relova with the wide shot a little bit before that. But nothing really sustained in terms of attacks, but the Eagles have controlled possession for, I would say, about 90% of the time so far. Again, the big thing about possession, too, to remember is that it's not so much in the way of did the team touch the ball, it's do they control and possess it for more than a second, because it's super easy to touch it, but it's harder to keep it, especially in a sport like soccer or something like hockey. You see that a lot. That one's kicked back to Juan in goal, and Juan's going to kick it away. Southern carrying 3 goalies on their roster. Devin Juan, the only one who's played for the Owls so far this year as we hit the 35-minute mark here. 9 games played, 10 goals given up. He's only averaging 1.11 goals against this year. 34 total saves, 2 6-1 with 2 shutouts. That one's putted across too far. Eagles looking to try extending their winning streak to 6 straight games. Since they've gotten into conference play, they haven't lost. They're perfect 5-0 along with Felician, who's undefeated as well in conference play. Those 2 teams don't meet until the very last game of the regular season. So if both teams continue to trend in the way that they have, we could be looking at a winner takes the 1 seed later on this year. It's a road game, so we won't have that here at Lemoy Field, but nonetheless, it would be a big matchup. That's kind of where we stand on men's soccer for fall sports. Every other team still contending. Women's tennis lost yesterday, had a chance to put themselves on the verge of that 4 seed in the CACC tournament and lock it up. Just were not able to get past Dominican. Garcia, nice break up there on Groenveld. Now here come the Eagles the other way. Nice slide right there by the captain, Catali. Owls maintaining possession in their backfield. And that goes back to Juan. Kicks it in, and it's right back to the captain, Catali again. Catali's controlled the ball for a majority of the time the Owls have had it. That was kicked in by Uriarte to Birdie, and that one is punted really far and way out of play by Dacunia. Over past the softball field, and somebody coming into the field is able to grab that for them. Throwing here for Florindo. That's a tongue twister. Gets it into Souza. Souza now back out to Birdie. We saw Florindo get it to get it to Souza earlier against Georgian Court for Uriate's what would end up being the game-winning goal. Tao. Now over to Birdie. Birdie over to the side. That's Souza with it. Souza now looking to try and cross it looked like, was unable to do it, so he just pushes it across the field. Relova now. Chips it. Uriarte tries to, that was Souza who tried to come in and get it, couldn't. I'm so used to seeing Uriarte with those flying headers that it was somebody different this time. Florindo then tried to go and grab it. Went off of, I believe, went off of Catali, and it's going to be the Eagles ball, offensive side, where they've been for most of the first half. Uriarte on the throw-in. He's able to grab it. He's pushed off the ball by Razzo, and now Birdie's going to fire wide of the net. It'll be a goal kick for Juan. Approaching the 30-minute mark in the first half. We got a little bit of a wind to our backs. We'll see how that affects some of the high balls if it continues, and affect our equipment if the rain decides to start up and blow underneath the tent. Back into play in the neutral zone with it. As we got a scoring update, too, for football, it's halftime. And your Eagles are trailing 23-0 against Pace University. Still looking for the first win of the year and in program history. Still time to do it in this matchup today on the road. Of course, in a couple weeks, they take on Southern Connecticut State football at Municipal Stadium for homecoming weekend. That one's kicked over to Relova. Relova pushed off the ball, but gets it back. Now Birdie's got it. Birdie's going to move it to the right side and kick it back out to Tao. Tao over to Garcia. Garcia with it now. Gets it over to Florindo. Souza once again back out to Garcia. Garcia looks like he wants to wail on that one deep. Can't quite do so. Gets over to Uriarte, and that goes out of bounds. Throw in for the Eagles. Cross no good there. So we're getting just some numbers from the football game. It looks like Simon Burkett and Malachi Taylor are sharing some playing time at quarterback today. Eagles haven't been able to sustain too many offensive drives in that matchup so far. Offensive rushes for the Eagles on the men's soccer team right now have become plentiful so far. I mean, the possession has pretty much been on their half, on their opponent's half for a majority of this first 15 minutes with brief rushes by the Owls. Anaganastiadis with it in the backfield now. And Garcia passing it back and forth with Nassen. Birdie back there with it as well. Again, it's just about trying to find the right area for this Eagles team, Ted Haley's squad. Very patient in terms of finding the goals and finding goal opportunities. But when they do, they usually capitalize on them. You don't see them miss very often. And that was one thing about their last loss against Franklin Pierce that we noticed was it wasn't so much in the way of that they had some bad defensive errors, as we see a rush down here by Ludwig over to Souza. Souza tries to go between some people, and it's taken away by the Owls, and back the other way with it they come. It wasn't so much in the way of them being unable to get offensive chances. They made some defensive mistakes that led to those Franklin Pierce goals. But the big thing was offensively, they just couldn't seem to get the rush that they wanted and get their people in the right spot. They were just missing their passes a little bit. And ever since then, they've really been in sync in terms of just getting things figured out as a team. Garcia over to Birdie. Birdie back over to Ludwig. Back over to Garcia. Now Garcia is going to chip that in deep, and here comes Tao trying to come over. That's going to be headed away. Can't quite get the number from this far away on the front. Looks like that signal. Signal. Throwing in over there to Anaganastiadis. Nick from Sydney, Australia, another one of our fantastic workers here in athletics when he's not on the pitch, doing great things for his team. And I got a chance to talk to him earlier this week, and he made sure to correct me on how I was pronouncing his name. A lot of opponents don't, I guess, pronounce it or say it at all. So I kind of wanted to make sure I was up to the challenge, and I've been practicing for the past couple of days to make sure we get it right for him. So, Nick, if you listen back to this, so far so good, I'm pretty sure. That one's going to be crossed in there by Jean, and that's going to be kicked out of the way, out of harm's way by the Eagle defense. Tao now in to get it back to the midfield. Saeed has it, kicks it into the backfield over to Rose. Rose to Razzo. Saeed now back into the backfield to DeCunha. 27 minutes to go here in the first half. And the Owls just trying to get something going here. They really haven't had too many sustained rushes until that last one we just saw with it being headed out by the defense. Florindo back there to get it. Try and keep it in. That one's kicked just to our right. Eagles ball. Florindo throwing in. Now Birdie with it. Into the backfield once more. 26 minutes remaining in the first half. Nassen over to Tao. Garcia now into the middle to Birdie. Birdie over to Nassen on the right side. A lot of just neutral zone play with the ball right now for the Eagles. Not much really to say about it because they're really just kind of passing it around and I think trying to find a gap in the Owls defense to get a rush. And now here we go with a rush down the side. Uriarte over to Florindo. Florindo cross kicked away there by Rose, and that'll be, depending on where it landed out. Yeah, so it did not land out on the end line. It lands out on the sideline, which is just a throw-in instead of a corner. Birdie now, I think he wants to go for the net on this, but he's not going to be able to. He's pushed out by the Owl defense. Anagnostiadis now. Yeah, he's going to whale that one across to Florindo. Florindo now, touch pass over to Souza. Souza's got it. Over back to Birdie. Now Souza into the middle to Ludwig. Ludwig hounded by Owls there. Still has some space and is able to kick it out to Tao. Tao working against Jean over there, and he's just going to have to kick it out. And it's going to go out of bounds. Throw in for the Owls. So not a lot of really aggressive play from either side so far. From what we've seen in the first 20 minutes or so, it's been very methodical on both sides in terms of rushing up and down the pitch. And as I say that, it looked like the Owls were about to make a quick run there, but did not. Florindo kicks that one in deep to Uriarte. Not going to get there in time as Juan is there to pick it up for the Eagles. Excuse me, for the Owls. Now that's going to be Souza with it, volleying it around. He's going to go down the left side, and it's going to get kicked out. Yeah. So down there, Said, I think, thought it was off of Florindo, and it clearly was not. So it's going to stay on the offensive end for the Owls. Excuse me, the Eagles. I keep messing that up because we got two different birds here today playing. Cross from Florindo. I believe they're going to say that was out of bounds, though. Yeah, that's going to be a throw-in for the Owls in the defensive zone. Truthfully, from what we've seen in the first fair amount of this game, it seems like it's a lot of the... It seems like the Eagles are just trying to do a little too much with it. I think if they simplify things as this game wears on, they'll be able to wear down the Owls' defense. But it feels like they're just trying to get a little too fancy with it right now. There you go again with Florindo trying to kick it around over to Ludwig. Excuse me, Rolova. Throw in now again for the Owls. You know, the big thing that they're able to do against Georgian Court at home was really just kind of, you know, play around with the ball a little bit and just slowly work it down, but they knew when to pass it and get it away from the defender in front of them. Right now what we're seeing is a lot of fancy footwork from some of the forwards to try and just get around a defender, and the Southern Connecticut defense is up to the challenge to do that, to just kind of stop them. So let's see if on this offensive rush, if they can get some more passing around to try and open up space, because I think that'll do a lot better, especially because once you let that defender come over on help, now you got two people in front of someone like Omar Florindo, Francisco Souza, Aritz Uriate, and now you're in a position where it can be very tough to get the ball off. That was a pretty good no call, I have to say, by the ref there. Florindo did get ran into, but it was a play on the ball, and they kind of just clashed at the same time. Again, soccer can get very chippy from time to time in terms of those foul calls. You'll see a hard hit and say, why is it not a foul? We'll do our best to kind of dissect it in both directions on why it could be, why it couldn't be. The argument there, I think, was that the ball wasn't being played and he kind of played him more, but it looked like a clean, not hit, but a clean play on the ball to prevent Florindo from getting there. Just under 22 minutes to go here in the first half. Owls on the offensive side around the 30-yard line with the throw-in right there. to Razzo, it looked like. And now Jean with it. It's going to be kicked out. And now here comes Uriarte over to grab it. Uriarte, nice touch pass over to Souza. But now can Souza do something with it? Here we go. Down the left side. He's just trying to beat the defender out with his legs. Use the teammates. Souza still with it now with two defenders on him. Crosses it in front, and that was kicked away by D'Acunha. So that's what I was talking about a minute ago. You kind of see how they're just trying to do it by themselves. Aritz Uriarte with the cross. That's what you want to see if you're on the Eagles on offense. Working it across the pitch to try and get to an open man. And that's what was missing on that last rush by Souza. He got fancy with the footwork trying to get around one guy. The help comes over. Now he's got two people on him. What do? You have to try and work around two defenders to get through him, and he wasn't able to. He was able to kind of cross it towards the goal, but no one was there to get it for the Eagles. It's a lot harder of a window to pass it into trying to get around two defenders than it is one. So once that help starts to come over, you know that means someone else is going to be open on the pitch, and the Eagles got to try and locate that person quickly. Right now it seems like they're a little bit behind on doing that. We'll see if they're able to do that as the game wears on. And I got to be honest right there. Yeah, they're going to call that a handball because that was clearly touched by Souza about 4 feet before it went out of bounds. I think he was hoping that it would be a throw-in for the Eagles, but he touched it clear as day before the line. And, in fact, our camera is pointed right at the center. You can probably see it there on the screen. Again, the ball's got to be out of bounds completely and have bounced out of bounds. It cannot be in midair and be touched because if it is over the line but in the air, it still can be played. So in that case, Souza came over, touched it while it was in midair before it had even touched out of bounds. It's still a live ball. Therefore, he gets the handball foul call. And instead of a throw-in, it's a kick-in. Where they're located on the field, luckily, it's not as big of a deal in terms of positioning. But if that's deeper in the box, you're possibly looking at a 30-yard kick towards Soren Jensen in the net. Uriarte fires wide. That was a good shot there by Uriarte in space. He's got that powerful leg. And that was a good shot attempt there, just wide of Juan in goal. Just heard the coaching staff say, don't get desperate with it. And I got to agree there. I mean, it wasn't that in my opinion, did not look like a desperation shot. It looked like someone who has open space. We see that a lot if you've watched some of the women's games. When Alyssa Hebb gets space from about the 35, 40-yard line, she wails it towards the net because she's got that powerful leg to do it. And that's what Uriarte did. He just hit it wide of the net. I think that was a good shot opportunity. And see, there you see is kind of what I was talking about a minute ago, why it was called a handball. There's going to be a foul against Surratt on Anna Ganastiadis. Eagle ball again. So you saw that ball just there in front was in midair, but it was out. It was over the out of bounds line. Catali, though, comes in and kicks it back in to keep it alive. That's still a live ball. So that was similar to what happened with Souza a little while ago. But he grabbed it while the ball was still inbounds, but in midair. You can't do that. Almost a misplay there by Lops, but Eagles unable to get there. Thrown by Souza. They were kind of looked like they were trying to rush it. And now Florindo is going to throw it in instead. Florindo to Uriarte. Back over to Florindo. Florindo with the cross. Relova can't get it. Anaganastiadis now on it. Back over to Relova. Relova punts it through the left side and just wide of the uprights. Looks like that was actually deflected, so gonna be a corner kick. It looks like that's Manuel Relova taking it for the Eagles. Just heard Ted Haley say score a goal. Relova into the box, no one there to get it. Anaganastiadis, I think, thinks he was pushed to the ground and out of the way. Juan didn't even have any challenge there. Was just able to turn towards where the corner was taken from and grab it. Tau now kicks it in. It looks like that went off the wrong side of his head. And down there to get it is Jean. Goes out of bounds, and I think we're going to get a corner. We are, and that's going to be Jean to take it. First big offensive opportunity for the Owls since around the 30-minute mark when they had that kick deep into the box that was pushed away by the Eagle defense. Jean fires this one in. Low one. Anagnostiadis knocks it out. Now Garcia in there. It's pushed out to the 30, and now the Owls going to reset. Resetting back there. And kicking it back in is Lops. But now Anagnostiadis right there pushes it back ahead. Out to midfield, Uriarte. Back into the backfield for Anagnostiadis. And here's the thing about that. Now, most of the time it works for the Eagles, but with five people on the Owls back across the 50 on the offensive end, it's a risky pass if it doesn't go to them correctly, in which you risk potentially giving that up and having a free ball the other way and a free shot on Jensen. Uriarte now try to get to Ludwig, and it's going to go over to Florindo now. Florindo crossed in, and that's going to be pushed out by Lops. Corner kick coming here for the Eagles, and they're rushing to get this one going. And they're just going to kind of tap it in, it looks like. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was a corner. I mean, there was no whistle to signal that. There's a whistle, which would signal a foul. But I didn't hear any whistle there, so it looks like they're just trying to catch him off guard because Catali wasn't over there to kind of defend the corner inbound. At least that's what it looked like from the looks of it up here. Juan to kick it. See Luca DeToli putting on a jersey. I think he might be coming in pretty soon. We got two coming in right now for the Owls. It's going to be Leglio and Tushito. Eagle ball here with 14 minutes. Again, those subs cannot come on until it's a free kick or a throw-in for them. Excuse me, not a free kick. On a throw-in or if a goal was scored. Kicked around in the midfield for the Owls, and now here they go the other way with it, but Anagnostiadis with a nice breakup. Ludwig now pushes it ahead to Souza. Souza. Just again. Whoa, we're going to get a little bit of a late push there. It's out of bounds, so it's going to be a corner. But, I mean, that was a blatant push down there by Lops that wasn't called. It might have been because it was out of bounds already, but I cannot quite figure out why there was no call in there. He just kind of shoved him down. Got 4 new people coming in for Southern Connecticut. It'd also be Hilpert and Sayers coming in. But first, we got a corner kick here for Birdie. Birdie into the middle. Oh, and on the redirect that was going off of Signell. Souza was right there to try and make a play. And now we got all the subs coming on for the Owls. Luca DeToli is going to come on for the Eagles. So I already mentioned all the subs for the Owls. Luca DeToli, the lone sub, coming on for Post, as he will take out Paul Ludwig. Gotta like what you see if you're the Owls after their game against Franklin Pierce. Momentum still clearly on their side from that previous one. Totally over. Pushed out by the Owls, so another throw-in for Southern Connecticut. Uriarte over to Souza. Oh, the low header to Birdie just didn't get to his head. And it's pushed back out. We're going to have yet another one. That is going to be called. Leglio, who gave me a nod of approval when I said his name before he went in. So I guess I got it right. We don't have pronunciation guides for the Owls today. So we're just doing the best we can with that. Called for the foul there. Tao with the cross. Not able to get it, but it is off of an Owl, so it looks like we'll get a corner kick here for the Eagles. And it'll be Rolova taking it. Pablo Tenorio, it looks like he's getting ready to potentially check in soon as well. Here we go. Rolova looking to get something on frame to get it in front for an Eagles goal. Pushes that one way far over the goal, and nothing doing there at all. As that one, a few of these corner kicks where they've tried to whale it in the box have gone way too far so far for the Eagles. Got to see if they can kind of settle it down with those shots in the boxes. Here we go. Tenorio going to. Nope, Tenorio's not going to check in. Horn was sounded, but not yet. Headed by Leglio there, and now we got a foot race. Nossen's going to win it against the newly inserted Yannick Hilpert. Soren Jensen, I believe that might be the first time I've seen him touch the ball in this half, other than on the goal kick. Hasn't really had to do much. I mean, it's been all Eagles in this first half in terms of offensive chances. You had one corner kick that was a potential offensive opportunity, but Southern not able to cash in. Now here we go. Jensen's going to get it again. And oh, man, he's kicking that towards the net. He's able to get it out of there, but, man, that was dangerous. Tucito came across to try and grab it. Hilpert will now throw it in around the 30-yard line. Can the Owls sustain some pressure on the Eagles? We have not seen it so far. And we're probably not going to see it again here, as Tao is going to grab it and just whale it out of there. And that's certainly what he does. And it's headed. Uriarte was not able to get it, and he wants a foul call too. But there was nothing there. It just looked like it was inadvertent contact in the air. Down low, they're trying to push it around, not able to do so. Pushing around in the corner is Souza against Lops, and now it's back out. Owls still with the ball. DeToli, though, comes right over and grabs it. That one, what a nice curve on that one. I thought that was headed right for us over the 10. That was a blatant push down there by Sierra Leglio, and nothing was called there. I mean, I like that. Now it's called. So DeToli, with less of a push there by Sayers, gets the call, but didn't get it on the previous one where he was blatantly shoved to the ground. It seems like there's been, typically I like to look at it from both angles, but there's been some missed calls here today so far, which, yes, sometimes you will see some flops in soccer in general to try and draw the call. From what I've seen so far, though, there's maybe been one of those. The rest of them have been kind of questionable in terms of why they're not getting called at times, because there have been some takedowns without the ball even near the person on both sides that make you wonder what's happening. DeToli took less contact on that second hit than he did on the first when he was playing the ball. As Pablo Tenorio checks in and Denny Iljazzy. Iljazzy earned himself some more minutes in his last game after the 2 goals in 13 minutes. Again, in terms of that shutout streak as well, I like to remind people, because I mentioned it before the game, it's a shutout winning streak. So a tie doesn't count as a win. So here we go now, though, through the middle with it. Great claps by Nossen and Garcia on defense, as Tucito was going right up the gut with that one on the pass inside. Jensen didn't have to make a save on that because it kind of was really just kicked to him. But like I mentioned, it's a win streak. So Soren Jensen could get 5 consecutive shutouts, which would be a record, but it wouldn't be 5 consecutive shutout wins, which would be a record, because the current record sits at 4 consecutive shutout wins. Of course, he didn't get it last game, like I said, because he was subbed out for Rodrigo de la Turga in the second half of that one. Jack Olson with the save out of bounds for us, one of our fine grad assistants that works with us in athletic communications this year, taking photos for us. DeToli over to Florindo, and now inside to Souza. Iljazzy's going to kick that one ahead to Florindo, and I believe, yep, we got an offsides call on Uriarte. And that's Uriarte's patented move. He likes to fly in there ahead of the play, and that's what he tried to do right there to push it on net. Wasn't able to do it because he was behind the play, in front of the play, so he was called off sides. Checking in pretty soon for the Eagles is Marcus Botungi. 6 minutes to go and change, tied up at 0-all. No shots on goal for either team either that have really transpired. You've had a few crosses that have been kicked away by people, but otherwise, and now here he comes again, Tucito. What a beautiful play by Nassen to break it up. And Florindo with the back up there. Gets it over to Detoli. Detoli now coming up the left side. Detoli pushes in deep. And this is what we saw last game, too, at home. Uriarte on the free run down the pitch trying to get it. Owls have started to sustain some more pressure here as the half has worn on. And that's just going to be fumbled by Sayers. Out of bounds, and he goes the other way. Botungi to check in. Didn't see who came off. But Botungi checks in. Oh, he's taking his time over from the far side. It was Nathan Tao. Couldn't see him coming through the crowd of people. Florindo now to throw in on the defensive end. Florindo over to Uriarte. Uriarte now around the 45-yard line on this pitch. Over to Tenorio. Tenorio across, over to Florindo. Florindo now back up to Tenorio. Anigan Ostiatis now has got it. He wails on it deep and gets it over to Souza. Oh, man, Souza gets hit. I believe we're going to get a foul called on that. And, yeah, so he's down. Souza, I think, was trying to kick it towards the goal. And just before the collision happened, I was about to say Florindo was wide open on the left side before that contact even occurred to get the pass to. But it looked like Souza was thinking goal and wasn't able to get it on that. It looked like inadvertent contact, but they blew the whistle for a foul on it. It kind of just happened as Souza was going to kick it. Although I don't know if it was hard to tell. It sounded like they hit feet in midair, but maybe he got hit a little higher, and that's where the foul was called. That's Kareem Saeed, who is down on the ground. And then I saw Uriarte behind the plate also down. I couldn't tell if he got pushed. Souza's still slow to get to. I mean, Souza got up, and now he's back on a knee. Again, we're not showing you this any of it on camera because we don't want to be showing injuries in any sport live. And I think he's going to come off. Yeah, it looks like he's going to come off. So we had a few people from Southern Connecticut getting a water break, it looks like. I don't think we had any subs for them. But Souza just went down, and I don't see a replacement out there. Yeah, there is no replacement right now for Souza, so they're playing with 10. Yeah, so they've got 10 on the pitch right now. Counting Soren Jensen, 9 field players as Souza's getting looked at. And now we're going to see Steven Sproson come in. And now Sproson's going to come on. Ted Haley trying to get him on, and the ref just was kind of ignoring it. It really just seems like again, I don't like to harp on the refs at all, but it seems like they've kind of been a little discombobulated here so far in the first half. In terms of consistency with the foul calls on contact, it really hasn't felt consistent in terms of what's being called and what's not. And that can be dangerous sometimes in terms of then you have players being a little overly aggressive because they're not getting fouls called against them. And you just saw right there was an injury, and they weren't letting Sproson come in. And Ted Haley yelling for the official to let his player come on, because now you got a full 10 on and you got 11 with the goalie. 3 minutes to go here in the first half. Still tied at 0. Really, again, nothing doing for both teams. It's been defensive. I've said it many of times. The Eagles have controlled the tempo, pace, and the play in terms of ball control, but they just seem to be doing a little bit too much still with it at times and haven't been able to capitalize on any opportunities that they've gotten down low. But credit to the Owls defense, too, for making some incredible stops, too, to prevent some cross passes from going in. A lot of those that we saw against Georgian Court were going right to Uriarte or Relova or Souza or Birdie. I mean, pretty much any Eagle you can mention in the box for a shot on net, and we're not seeing that as much today. Got a handball down there on the offensive end. 2 minutes and change to go here, and it's going to be Detoli. If I'm the Eagles right now, kick this one towards the net and have Uriarte, honestly, run towards the net to try and head this one in on Juan. A little bit of confusion on where the ball should be. Another quick stoppage there, but now we got a reset. We're ready. Detoli now is going to try and wail on this one, I think, towards the net. Rain's starting to come down again. Detoli, cross. Headed in there by Botungi. Yeah, Botungi, who falls to the ground. We got a little bit of conversation between Coach Anderson and one of the side judges talking about that last play in terms of where the ball should be set up, because when the ball is set up in a different spot, it can hamper the angle that they get in terms of the shot on goal. Just over a minute left here in the first half. We're still scoreless here at Lemoy Field. The only game going on in Waterbury, Connecticut today, but of course, like I mentioned, football playing on the road. As there's 1 minute remaining in the first half. It'll be a Southern Connecticut corner kick. I'm also doing PA at the same time, so kind of multitasking here. We've got a corner kick here with Kareem Saeed. 40 seconds left. It feels like now the defense for the Eagles isn't sure what they're supposed to have, as they didn't have DeCunha marked. And now we're getting a clock stoppage. 30 seconds to go in the first half. So the reason they stopped it was because of it seemed like the Owls were trying to waste as much time off the clock. And you can't do that. That's a delay of game. Owls still controlling on the offensive end. Eagles trying to push them out of it. And it'll be a goal kick. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At the end of the first half, the score is 0-0. So you just heard me say it on the PA, but the score is 0-0 at the half. Neither team getting a shot on goal here. We'll try and get you some halftime stats. For now, we'll throw it to a commercial break, 15-minute break here in Lemoy Field. Your Eagles trying to extend that winning streak to 6 straight games. The Owls, though, fighting hard against the number 12 team in the nation. Mike Vesci joining you here on the CACC Network on YouTube. And on the CACC Network, I should say. We'll be back in a little while with more action.
champions know how to seize opportunities. When they see moments of greatness unfold right before their eyes, they push as hard as they possibly can, and then they push harder. Because the heart of a champion never settles, never quits, and never stops giving its all. We are champions. We are Division II. We go big, we give it everything we've got, and we win. On the field, on our campuses, in our communities, for our causes, in our careers. We rise to become champions in everything we do. We are Division II, and there are no limits here. We make our time count. We set our own path. We become champions on our terms. It's time to up your game, because we're here to play and learn. But most importantly, we're here to discover ourselves, our vision, our heart, our drive, to achieve every goal we aim for, because we want to be champions at the highest level, life. At Division II, the opportunities are here. Are you ready?
In NCAA Division II, student athletes leave a lasting impression on their communities. That's because Division II student athletes want to make a difference and truly be part of their surrounding communities. Through community engagement, thousands of student athletes from various backgrounds interact with community members who view them as role models. This interaction leaves a positive and perhaps even life-changing impression on all those involved. In Division II, we rise to the opportunity and make community engagement ours.
In a country where 1 in 5 people are affected by a mental health condition, it's time for all of us to step up and change the conversation.
We all have stress in our lives and manage it in different ways.
Grades,
finances,
practice,
family,
games,
finals,
homework,
playing time,
friends, midterms,
treatment, studying,
sleep, time for me.
We don't have to find the balance on our own.
It's okay not to be okay.
We're all in this together.
People can and do get better.
Caring about one another can be your competitive advantage.
Communicate.
be aware,
show compassion,
Be a champion for each other.
Hope starts with you.
Hope starts with me.
Hope starts with us. We are CACC student athletes, and we are breaking the stigma.
The NCAA has nearly 500,000 student-athletes from more than 1,200 member schools and conferences. There are more than 19,000 teams competing for 90 championships in 24 sports across 3 divisions. Division II has more than 124,000 student-athletes from over 302 colleges and universities. The division offers athletic scholarships while balancing a collegiate athletic environment that encourages student-athletes to discover and pursue what they love. The annual NCAA convention is where Division II members implement new rules. Delegates from every school and conference gather to discuss and vote on each proposal. Each eligible school, conference office, and the Student-Athlete Advisory Committee hold one vote. New rules in Division II can originate in one of 2 ways. A majority of proposals start in Division II committees. Those groups, comprised of representatives from member schools or conferences, debate concepts and forward recommendations to the Division's Management Council and President's Council. The Division II Management Council reviews each proposal from the committees, makes recommendations, and forwards them to the President's Council. The President's Council, composed of college presidents and chancellors, is the top leadership group in Division II. Its primary function is to establish and direct general policy and strategic direction for the division. It is the only group within the governance structure that can sponsor legislation for a vote at convention on its own. New rules can also be proposed directly from Division II members. If 15 active Division II schools or 2 conferences sign on as sponsors, the proposal will be voted on by the entire Division II membership, no matter what position the division's committees and councils take. Through the legislative process, the Division II membership and its representatives enact change across the division.
And we're back here for the second half. Men's soccer taking on Southern Connecticut State University in this non-conference matchup here today. So far, the weather's held up for the most part, but looking at the radar, there's the potential for some very heavy rain here in the second half. So we'll see how things transpire for the last 45 minutes, and if it does rain, how that affects, how both teams are able to play on this turf field. It's been a mostly rainy fall in terms of both men's and women's teams playing on this field, and that adjustment is a lot different. It's an older turf too, but on top of that, you just have a lot of slipping because it is a turf instead of a grass field. Not that you wouldn't get it on a grass field, but it's a little more slippery in that regards. Still, no shots on goal either, as we mentioned in the first half. We were unable to get the stats. Stats seem to not be working live due to some internet connectivity issues. We do have an update for you on the football team. There's about 7 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. They trail 31-7 against Pace. And looking into their box score, Pace has rushed for 326 total yards amongst 9 different rushers and thrown the ball only 4 times. So a heavy ground day for the Setters has helped lead the way for Pace over Post University, as that one, again, there's still 7 minutes to go, but as it stands, it seems that the Eagles will fall to 0-6 on the year and pace will improve to 2-4. We'll get you an update when that goes final again. This is our last game of the week at home. Men's tennis takes on Franklin Pearson to tune up on the road tomorrow. We got the post-invitational golf tournament on Monday and Tuesday. The men's team just taking second in the CACC tournament on Monday and Tuesday by just one stroke behind Goldie Beacom, who won their second consecutive title. And looking around the rest of our teams, women's soccer got a big win this week, 3-0 on the road against Bloomfield to keep their playoff hopes alive. Again, there's still plenty of time left, but you got to be the top 8, and they were in the bottom 4 right now. So slowly trying to move up. They've got a tie and a win in their last 2 matchups in conference, which is big after starting 0-3. Volleyball has been on a bit of a losing skid, but they have 2 conference wins at the moment. It's been a lot of non-conference losses for their team so far, but they have a more conference-heavy schedule coming up. They have a tri-match next weekend against Bentley and Holy Family. Holy Family game will count as a conference matchup as Rolova is going to cross that one in. And head coach Tiffany Verney right here to my right now just gave me the thumbs up for that. That one's kicked on net by Florindo. We got 44 minutes, or just a minute into this one. Again, keeping our eye on the weather, too. It may rain here in the second half. We're protected for the most part, but if the wind keeps blowing the way it is, we could have some problems with getting soaked. Florindo in the backfield, almost a handball there. That was Sierra Leglio who came in as a sub in the first half, getting the start here in the second half. Both teams trying to feel each other out here. That was the first shot on goal, by the way, folks. That shot by Florindo. That was saved by Juan. So the Eagles making some quick adjustments to get something going already. Again, this team trying to extend their 5-game winning streak to 6 and continue to set the record for most consecutive wins by way of the shutout. After today, we were having a conversation about who's playing where next week and trying to figure out who it was. I was talking with Sydney Rutherford, our grad assistant, about who was playing on Tuesday. It is, in fact, the men's team playing Dominican College on Tuesday. The women will play on Wednesday at 2 o'clock here at Lemoy Field. So that's up next for men's soccer on Tuesday. Then they hit the road to play Chestnut Hill next Saturday at 2:30 before returning against Caldwell University the Tuesday after that at 2:30. So that's an extended look at the men's soccer schedule. So we got some home games coming up this week, and then we have a tri-match next week as that one's fired on net by Tao. And we got a tri-match of volleyball with Holy Family and Bentley coming to town to take on the Eagles. And then obviously the middle match of the game of the day will be Holy Family and Bentley. So that's kind of your week ahead look at all the home games. And then women's tennis at home against AIC on Friday at 3, which we will be streaming that one live from the Edgewood Bath and Tennis Club like we did yesterday for that one. Southern controls the ball on the throw-in, throws into the offensive half, and it's just kind of kicked out and booted around in the air there by Sierra Leglio. Florindo now has got it, trying to kick it ahead. Gets it to midfield, but it's going to be taken away by Rose. Rose now into the backfield to Cunha. To Cunha, over Signell. Signell now into the backfield, back to DeCunha. Into the neutral zone they go. That's Ozar Razo. And we're going to get a throw in here by Marcus Botungi. Can the Eagles get a goal, get in front, extend this win streak to 6 consecutive games, and can they extend their winning shutout streak to 6 games? Keep in mind they would be able to extend the shutout streak to 6 games, which would be a program record In terms of wins, though, it would snap their 5-game winning streak by way of the shutout. Luis Figueredo, the assistant coach, now talking with the ref on the sideline about something, and the ref just kind of smiled and laughed at whatever he was trying to ask about. Owls ball after that. Now the other way comes Southern Connecticut. A takedown there by Florindo against Lops, and it goes in deep, and there's going to be a throw-in. Owls were trying to rush that one. That was Catali down there just trying to get the ball in as soon as possible to try and catch the Eagles off on the defensive end. When the Eagles have been set on defense, they've been really good at stopping anything from Southern Connecticut from getting deep into the offensive zone. That one's kicked out to Catali. Catali now back over to Lops. Hard to see the numbers on the far side when their backs aren't turned to us just because they are a little bit tiny on the front. But the ball goes back to the Eagles here with 39 minutes and change to go. A little bit of a light mist coming down from left to right on the field. And looking at the radar, it's only going to get worse from here in terms of the weather. But it's been getting better and better on the pitch for the Eagles so far in the second half, who have got some offensive opportunities that were a lot more, how do I put this? They were a lot more organized in terms of how they went about them. When they've had these offensive rushes so far, it seems like they're working the ball more methodically to try and get to open men instead of trying to play hero ball and have one person do it themselves. So a little bit of a first half, second half adjustment so far. Throw in there by Florindo. He's kicked over from Ludwig back out, and then we're going to get a foul call. I didn't quite see what the call was, but it will go in the Eagles' favor. It was way after the ball was out of there. Now Birdie's going to kick it away from about the 38, 37-yard line. Birdie towards the net. Ludwig unable to head it, but that's kicked towards Relova, and that's a goal! Manuel Relova finds the back of the net. He froze Juan. So it was missed there by Marcus Botungi. It went off of a Southern Connecticut State defender, and Relova just kind of fired it towards the net, and Juan didn't know what to do. He just kind of stood there, didn't even dive to the left side or right side for it. I think he was completely caught off guard and thought the play was cleared. But Relova, loving it here as the Eagles take a 1-0 lead with 37:57 here remaining in the first half. That's Relova's first goal of the year. He's got an assist and 1 point, so now his second point of the year. Beautiful shot there by Relova, just manages to find a way to get it through. And the Eagles now in control. Now we go back to it. A chance to extend that win streak to 6. A chance to extend that shutout streak to a program best 6 in a row. And on top of that, Soren Jensen now in the mix. As long as he doesn't give up a goal and this score holds, or if the Eagles continue to score, it doesn't really matter. As long as that stays at the 0 and the Eagles are in control on the scoreboard, Soren Jensen will be your new program history record holder for the most consecutive games with a shutout. Now Uriarte, he's going to fire that one just wide of Juan. Juan was ready for that, but he didn't have to do too much as it was to the outside of the box. We talked to Soren Jensen after the Georgian court game about tying the record, and you know, the theme with both him and Denny Iljazzy it was very selfless, which is good to see with the team. They don't care about personal numbers as much. They care more about getting the wins and playing strong as a team together. And they're certainly doing that right now, which is why everything's been going so smoothly for the Eagles these last few weeks. But that was really cool to see. Although, like I mentioned earlier, Nick Anaganastiadis, chatting with him earlier this week, and Soren was hoping that after his 45 minutes of effort in the last game that he would technically hold the record But that's not the case because it goes down as a combined shutout. And they get right back to it right there after the foul, and that was fired by Catali, and now that one goes wide. Looks like on the cross. And it goes out. So that's the interesting thing about it, is it was kind of funny. So they don't care too much about their individual stats, and when you're approaching a record like that, it means a lot. And we actually have a couple. We're kind of recreating the record books right now, and we found out as well when we look towards our record books for the fall at least, women's volleyball has one of their players approaching a historic mark. Kaylee Harper now has 10 straight games with 10 or more kills. The record holder, Madeline Boop, sits at 11. So a chance for Harper now to tie the record next game, and the match after that potentially set it. She was able to get a kill in the final set last night, just on one of the last two shots. Our athletic communications team, Kristen Brown and Jack Olson, were telling me it was a close call, but was able to get it. So we've got a lot of history being broken here so far this fall, potentially, for the Eagles. And while the ultimate goal is, of course, for any sport, a national championship, it's cool to see these individual athletes etch their name in the Eagles' record books as we try and recreate them from what we had before. Foul called there in the middle of the field. 34 and a half minutes left, 1-0. It's actually getting brighter out now. It's New England, folks. I said it on the last broadcast that one day it's in the 80s like it was this week. The next day it's pouring rain. We really haven't been able to catch a break this fall, though, in terms of our men's and women's soccer teams have had to play through some really tough weather. This one's pushed ahead by the Owls, but getting to it is Nassen. Nassen gets pushed by Tucido. Soren Jensen's going to get it. Wow. I mean, Cira Leglio came right in for that, and now that one's punted towards the net. Jensen comes in to get it. That was Razzo firing from about the 35-yard line. Jensen there to make the stop. It's not a save. I mean, it really wasn't fired into the goal mouth. It's kind of fired on the outside of it. Not to mention, it looked like it was just kind of a pass into somebody from the Southern Connecticut team. .33 minutes to go here. 1-0 Eagles on the goal by Manuel Relova a little while ago. Kind of just stunned Juan and net after the redirect. Botungi fired, and it was blocked, and then it just kind of went to the foot of Relova. He didn't get any height on it either. It was just a straight roller through the defense into the back of the net, and Juan just didn't move at all to get it. He was just kind of frozen in place. You see that a lot. You see that a lot more with penalty kicks. Uriarte came flying in, and the ref signaled nothing. He signaled that there was no foul to be called there. And no foul to be called there. I mean, it was a play on the ball, but, I mean, that was another hard. That one's going to be crossed by Relova, and now Juan gets hit. I'm kind of just stunned right now. I don't like to, again, say too much about the refs, but we're seeing a lot of hard contact in this matchup that's just not being called at all. And I think even I heard Ted Haley just say Danny's missing a few things. I couldn't tell, though, 100% if that's what I heard. But the center ref is just kind of shaking his head as the players are saying stuff to him. And I mentioned this in the first half, that if things continue to get this way where it's chippy like this and there's no call, then there's no real regulation in terms of what players are going to and not going to do. With Florindo's takedown right there, it was close, and then there was another takedown just before that by Uriarte, and that looked like less of a takedown than the one before, and that one's whistled. And even Coach Haley's now saying how many. It just seems like in both directions now we're seeing a lot of hard contact that's just not being called, and I get it, you want to let the teams play, but at some point you have to keep them in check to avoid something serious happening, because all it takes is for one hard collision that's not called, because it's the tone that's been set for the first about, 60 minutes or so. That one's fired in by Birdie. It goes wide. And they're looking for a tip on that. No tip there, they say. It'll be be a throw-in for the Owls. So we'll see how these next 30 minutes play out. It's only a 1-0 game. I mean, if it was like 3-4-0, you're not going to see as aggressive. You're not going to see as much of an attempt to really like fly after stuff to make something happen. You're going to be more kind of reserved, I would say, in terms of your play style, because you kind of get a feeling as the game wears on up, you know, we got to start looking at the next game, but we want to build some building blocks, but let's get out of here healthy too. But with a 1-0 game, if things keep getting chippy like this with hard contact yet again against Birdie, that time by Razzo, you kind of set this tone where it's going to become a free-for-all if you're not careful. Florindo, that's going to go off of Lops. Got a corner kick coming here for the Eagles. 30 minutes to go. They're looking to extend their lead to 2 goals. It'll be Ludwig to take it. Denny Iljazzy getting ready to come back out. Ludwig ready. Coming towards the box are the Eagles. Ludwig fires in, headed by Florindo. Nice block in front. Florindo across. No, can't quite get it in. A beautiful block in front by the Owls defense. Couldn't quite see who got it. I want to say it was Signell who may have gotten a piece of it. Florindo, though, fired that one, and he was thinking top left corner the first time, and then the second time was thinking bottom left. Just couldn't get it to fall in there. It goes just wide of the net. Uriarte. Uriarte, who's been honestly quite quiet offensively so far, compared to previous games where he's averaging like 4, 5, 6 shots a game. And once again, I didn't see too much in the way of contact in the backfield there, but Ted Haley shouting at the middle ref again about a no call. Owls kicking it across into the offensive side. Jensen's going to come out and grab that. Still flying in to try and do something was Surratt, Matt Surratt. This Owls team, 9-5-3 last year, 6-3-2 in the NE10, but this is their first year under head coach Kevin Anderson. Looks like we're catching a break, too, in terms of the weather, because it seems the rain has actually kind of moved more west of us instead of in our direction. So that's why we've been able to, hopefully, fingers crossed, get through these last 28 minutes with relative ease and no rain. You know it's going to make it hard for the goalies to try and get anything off the gloves. It's going to make the ball wet. It's going to make the players slip, and can lead to a lot more injuries, too. That was Iljazzy with some fancy footwork to try and keep it in, and he just fired it into the road. Got Pablo Tenorio coming in. Final score for football, 38-7. So they're going to fall to 0-6 on the year. They return home again in 2 weeks to take on Southern Connecticut. Owls ball here. Now it goes right back to the Eagles, but Tungi kicks it towards Jensen. Jensen very smartly is going to just kick it away. No one in front of him. And again, Southern Connecticut, similar to the first half, and that was called for a foul. In fact, I actually thought that was going to be called on Pablo Tenorio, but it was called instead on Ozar Razzo. And now Uriarte is going to fire. So head coach Tiffany Verney for the volleyball team just went to go look for one ball. She has another one to go fetch now, it looks like, as that one just went clear out of the stadium too. So that's 2 balls they're missing now on the pitch. And we've got a bunch of ball girls without balls now because of 2 going out of play. Juan with it for Southern Connecticut. 25 minutes remaining. It is actually starting to rain very lightly right now. A nice mist. It's not a chilly day, but it's not exactly warm either compared to what we had earlier this week. Low 60s. Most of us bundled up. Jack out here braving it in shorts and a t-shirt today. And we got a throw in now for the Eagles. 25 minutes to go. That's Florindo with it. He's going to kick it across. Again, this has been a really neutral zone game in terms of both teams. Neither one really able to do much other than those couple rushes by the Eagles. They've controlled it, though, on the offensive end most of the game. And now we're seeing a rush here by the Owls. Ciarleglio now hounded by Tenorio, and they're going to call that one on Ciarleglio. Good call there, as Tenorio was taken down pretty easily. Luca Ditoli is going to come in a minute. It started raining a little heavier, and then it stopped again. You can't make it up in terms of the weather. Offensive side still now. The Owls, though, controlling the ball. And now Anaganastiadis has it. Over to Felipe Garcia. You got to think, too, with the way the Eagles' defense has played yet again this week, we'll be looking at one of their players in the backfield getting Defensive Player of the Week for the CACC. Whether it be Omar Florindo, Felipe Garcia, or Felix Nassen, who gets nominated and potentially has a chance to win it. We'll see. Soren Jensen, a lock right now, I would think, for potentially goalkeeper of the week, as long as this score holds. Then offensively, I mean, it's been a host of Eagles getting it done, and there's a good call right there, I will say, as Relova just absolutely slaughtered Lops into the ground. We saw that happen a few times in the first half, though, and it wasn't called. One with the Southern Connecticut, I think it was actually Lops, if I remember correctly. Lops pushed down, I think it was Florindo, on the offensive end, and there was no call. So they call it there in the second half. See, the Owls seem to start having more of a sense of urgency here in the second half. They're kind of pushing the pace a little bit more. And you're seeing, too, a lot on these throw-ins. Oh, that was dangerous by Jensen. I would have picked that up if I was him just because of how quickly Jean was closing on him. But the Eagles control it again, and it's taken away quickly by, it looks like Charette on Anaganastiadis. Off the head of Garcia, and it pushes back out. And now Relova, the lone goal scorer so far today. With a throw in for the Eagles. Luca Ditoli now to come back in. Waiting to see who he takes out. Took out Andrea Berti. Who's walking around the long side of the pitch. Sydney just pointed me out to him because I couldn't see him coming off. Botungi now, as Coach Tiff has retrieved at least one of the balls. She did get both of them. 21 minutes remaining. That one's crossed in by Florindo and picked up by Juan. So now we got all the soccer balls back so we can throw them in when we need to. Big kudos to our softball and women's hockey teams for being here helping out with that today in pretty much every game this fall and for helping us up top with the broadcasts. Owls with the ball playing at a much quicker pace than they had in the first half. You got to wonder if desperation time is kicking in for them in terms of trying to get something going. But no matter what happens in this game, win or lose, you got to be very happy with the way they've played in terms of they just played two ranked opponents. As Uriate just fired that on net, and Juan was there for the save. His first shot on goal today. You got to be happy no matter what if you're Kevin Anderson's squad going against two ranked opponents if this score holds up and losing only 1-0 to them. Now, granted, their offensive attack hasn't been really all there because the defense of the Eagles has been tremendous. But you still got to give them kudos on the defensive end as well for only giving up one goal. And really, the one goal that they gave up, as we see Andrea Berti just crossing in front of us, you got to give them kudos for how they played on defense. And the one goal that they gave up, really, Juan was in no man's land because Southern had the stop with the block in front. And their defense has blocked a lot of shots today that the Eagles have taken as we hit the 20-minute mark. And that was just one where Rolova just kind of fired it and froze Juan just because it was, I think it was unexpected, to be perfectly honest. I certainly didn't expect it, especially with how low the shot was, but nonetheless it was. And we're going to get a foul called on Luca Dottoli there for the Eagles, who was kind of just smiling like, really? After that call. And like I said, there's been some interesting calls that haven't been called. There's been some interesting calls that maybe they shouldn't have been called. It's been a kind of weird game so far today. But there's been a little more consistency, I will say, with the calls in the last 15, 20 minutes or so after those few early ones that Anagnostiadis was trying to save himself and Razzo there. And now we're going to get a foul call there. Good call as El Jazzy gets knocked down. Eagles 19 minutes away from extending this win streak to 6 straight games, extend their shutout winning streak to 6 straight games, and putting Soren Jensen in the record books. That's Florindo down there, can't do anything with it. It'll be a goal kick coming up for Juan. And Andrea Berti, who just walked all the way down and around, is going to be heading right back out there in a moment for the Eagles. So I guess his break was just the walk around the pitch and a quick talk from Ted Haley. Maybe he was getting a TED talk and then he just was coming back out for the game. I've been waiting to use that one all year, folks, and now we finally had the opportunity to. Foul called there as Juan's going to kick it with 18 to go. Booted deep and a push off there from Florindo against Surratt, but no call. It looked like it was just kind of they were playing for the ball and positioning as Uriate now comes out. Berti back in. Anagnostiadis checking out for Ludwig. Well, if Nick doesn't come back on in these final 17 minutes, I hope I got his name right for the final time today at the very least, if not throughout the afternoon. Trying to have a little fun here, too, on the broadcast with the match and a long 90 minutes of soccer played. And what's been really a defensive match back and forth. Neither team has really been able to the Eagles have sustained pressure in the offensive zone, but really in terms of shot opportunities, it's been far and few. You're going to get a corner kick here. Oh, no. It's actually a goal kick for Soren Jensen. At first, I saw the flag pointing towards the Eagles, and so I thought it was a goal kick, but head coach Kevin Anderson was saying make the most of the opportunity, and I thought then where the ball was being placed that it was, in fact, a corner kick, but it was a goal kick. So goal kick coming here. Jensen wails on that one to the opposite 40-yard line. A good 60 or 50 to 60-yard punt there for him. Got another foul called there. Tenorio looks a little bit gimpy after that one. Looks like he took a hit to the shin. Now Tenorio kicks it across towards us. Jack Olson tried to make a play on it for the athletic communications team, but he doesn't count as a player on the pitch. He's just our photographer for the day. That one's kicked in by Garcia on the offensive half, and now the Owls going to try and settle it down and see what they can do in these final 15 minutes. D'Acunha kicked it over to the side to Saeed. Now back over to the middle to Razzo. Razzo going in. And a nice break up there by Relova. Now off to the races to Tolley, and he got pushed from behind, actually, from Razzo, but they keep playing on. Jazzy can't quite get to it. It was taken away by D'Acunha. And the Eagles almost had a nice offensive rush there. Tolley smart not to play that ball too close. You cheat on that one, then you potentially risk Saeed going up the pitch with it. Good positioning there. And now down goes Relova. We're going to get clock stopped with 15-12. As Relova going to limp off. Checking back in a minute, too, for the Owls will be Umberto Catali, the captain, who we haven't seen here in the second half. Simon Hemler now coming in for the Eagles. We still wait for things to resume. So with that check-in, it'll be a 1-for-1. So out. Catali's going to come in. Now Razzo kicks it over to D'Acunha. D'Acunha in the backfield. 15 minutes to go. The Owls got to figure something out if they want to tie this game up. Force at least a tie, maybe get a second goal for the win. But time is running out quickly. It's going to be another throw-in for the Eagles. That one goes way back there. Hemler was flying in, who just subbed in, but Juan's going to kick it out to about the 40. Owls now trying to settle it down as Surratt's got it. Now in with it is Pablo Tenorio. Down the left side with it was Jacob Rose for Southern trying to save it, and then Ludwig now with it for the Eagles at midfield. DeToli now with a chance to run down the side with it. And now Botungi's got it. Botungi with the cross. Gets it over to Jazzy. Is Jazzy going to do what he did earlier in the year and score twice in the final 10 minutes? Maybe. Botungi again with it. Over to Hemler. And this is what it's been. Anytime the Eagles get deep in the offensive zone, it just seems like Southern is just hounding them. And like I mentioned in that first half, Hemler's going to have a shot at a header, can't get it. Like I mentioned in the first half, you saw a lot of one-on-one play from the Eagles in terms of, it would be like, I'll just give you an example, not saying it was one player the entire time. Omar Florindo running down the left side of the pitch, and he would just try and take it all the way to the goal and then either cross it or fire. And he'd get draped on by 2-3 Southern Connecticut defenders, and then he loses that window to pass. He loses that window to shoot. We're seeing a lot more passing in terms of the offense for the Eagles. And it's not just somebody trying to run up the sideline and get an angle towards the net. They're trying to be more methodical and purposeful with those passes to get themselves towards the middle. Birdie with the cross. Over to Florindo. And now Tenorio in the midfield with it. Back to Birdie. Birdie to Nasson up to Botungi, who runs down the right side in front of us. Gets it over to Detoli, and that goes out. Throwing coming for Botungi. Tenorio over to Botungi. Botungi down the right side. Feeds it in. Can't do so. Botungi now once again inside. And it's back out again. And that looks like, I'm really surprised that they just called that on the Eagles, because Jean had Hemmler's arm wrapped inside of him and took him down to the ground. But nonetheless, that's the way the call goes on that one. Perhaps they saw that it was a wraparound for Hemmler, and they were calling it because Hemmler wrapped inside him. But from what it looked like to me, it looked like Jean closed so that Hemmler couldn't get the arm out of there to begin with, which made it harder to deal with in terms of what was going on. Juan just chest bumped that one out of there. That was Ludwig who was rushing in. Birdie looked like he pushed off of somebody in the middle. Now, Ciarleglio controls, and he kicks that one in deep. Jensen has to go up for it. I mean, Soren Jensen standing tall in net so far today. 6'6", 200 pounds, and while that looks like an easy save, it's because Soren Jensen is 6'6". So he covers a good amount, and he didn't even have to really hop for that, more than a few inches off the ground. Whereas a goalkeeper who's 6, 7, 8 inches shorter is probably going to have to leap for that a little bit higher, and Ciarleglio might have had the equalizer against really any other goalie just because of the height on it. And the depth in which that height was still at its peak. It wasn't falling. A little bit of math for everybody. If the angle is much higher, it's going to be a little bit harder to get than it would be if it was a down low one. That one's kicked in by Birdie and then back out. Tenorio now over to Florindo. Florindo, oh, he looked like he wanted to cross it. Now he's going to cross it. Florindo into the box. Il Jazzy can't get a head on it. I don't even know what the foul was called for on there, because it looked like Il Jazzy just made contact going up for the header, but I believe they may have called the foul on Denny Il Jazzy in the box for it. And even Il Jazzy's kind of like, I don't know what I did there. It was just a straight clear from this angle, it looked like, for Southern Connecticut, that Il Jazzy was, I guess, whistled for too much contact on. This has been, I will say, like I've said, questionable in terms of the calls and the non-calls so far. It got a little bit better towards the middle stretch of the second half in terms of what was being called was a little more light and more expected. But then you have a call like that, which kind of makes you wonder again. Now, Kareem Saeed came in and quite, I'm really not sure there. I'm really not. Denny Il Jazzy flew in the air from that push, and it wasn't that hard of a push, to be perfectly honest. But he draws the foul call, so I guess if you're the Eagles, it's a positive. But that's, I mean, even the Southern Connecticut players around him were puzzled by that call and kind of besides themselves about it. And that's why I was kind of speechless for a minute there too, because it was just a light push off, and then Il Jazzy kind of just left his feet. But nonetheless, we play on here. 8 minutes to go. Eagles still hold a 1-0 lead. And Birdie now is going to kick it in, but it's going to go right back to the Owls. Eagles look to be playing a little less aggressive on the offensive end for a second goal. I think what it looks like to me is they're not trying to force an offensive rush, as they were trying to get it in right away, but they're going to not be able to because subs were coming on for both teams. I'm starting to see that the Eagles seem to be not rushing down the field as furiously as they were before, because now you're in crunch time. You know Southern's going to be desperate and try and get something offensively. Why are you going to risk being outnumbered on the defensive end when you can put 8-9 guys back to kind of defend and then put one over the midfield? It's probably a better choice to do it. Detoli with a nice little stop right there. And he's hit down, no call. Stays on the offensive end. Il Jazzy now controls. And it's back out to Totally with the no-look pass over to Florindo on the left side. Florindo with 7:20 to go. Dancing around. Uriarte, who just came back into the game, gets it from Tenorio. Uriarte over to Totally. Totally was trying to get to El Jazzy, and El Jazzy stopped. It's back out to Tenorio and then over to Nassen. Nassen over to Botungi, over to Birdie. And then this is where you want to see. Let's see how the Eagles attack offensively. Oh, nice kick right there by Totally. He was trying to get over to Botungi, wasn't able to do so. Pushed off Botungi now in. He's got it back after stealing it away from Jean. And now Tenorio's got it. Back out to Uriarte. Totally. Uriarte. Now Totali's going to kick it back to Felipe Garcia. His pass broken up over there by Rose. But Florindo's got it. And then a nice little pushback from Razzo. Breaks things up, and now the Eagles will control. 6 minutes to go. And as we approach the final few minutes, I want you guys to keep in mind, too, under 5 minutes, if the winning team makes a sub, clock will stop. That's going to be a foul called on Jean. Uriarte goes to the ground. He's going to be held up by the ref, but he looks to be fine. If the winning team subs in the final 5 minutes, clock stops. But that's why you rarely see them sub in the final 5 minutes if the winning team is ahead, because you don't want to give the opposition a breather. Haven't seen it so far this year, probably won't see it today either. Birdie's going to kick this one. It's a free kick. Watch for him to push this one towards the left side of the net. Birdie fires. Birdie from the 30 over to Florindo wide. This is 5:20 left here in the second half. Also no overtime too. It's just the full 90 and then you stop. Unless it's the playoffs. Totally pushes that one back and it goes out of bounds. We don't have the official stats in front of us, but on the scoreboard, still no shots on goal. I believe Jensen might have 1 or 2 saves on that kick in by Sierra Leglio. But nonetheless, we have no shots on goal. If that is what the case is, and it is 0 shots, Soren Jensen is on his way to a shutout win without having to make a stop. He only had to make 1 save in 45 minutes last game. A good push-off by, I think that was, Felipe Garcia. Pushing Rose off the ball, and then the Eagles get it out. Oh, man, a bad turnover there by Tenorio. And now Owls have numbers inside offsides. Jensen made the stop against Razzo, but Razzo was offsides when he got that pass. 4 minutes remaining. 4 minutes remaining between history for Soren Jensen as well. Be sure to talk to him after the game if everything holds up. We talked to him last game when he set the record, but it's hard not to when you've got this many shutouts in a row. We'll try and pull Manuel Relova as well, possibly. That ball goes out of bounds. Throw in for Southern. And we're going to get a push-off there. I think it was Razzo, and down goes Tenorio. We're going to get a clock stoppage here with 3:39. And Tenorio gets right back up, and he looks to be okay. Now, the ref, give him credit there, signaled for the clock to stop, because when you have a push down like that and you're laying on the ground, especially in these final few minutes, it looks like a delay of game. To prevent a delay of game from happening when it's not something serious, that's why they whistled for it. Birdie kicks it across. No one there to get it now. Uriarte is going to fly in, and we got an offsides called. It was hard to see the flag from my angle because we have a tent right in the line of vision. And you really can't see it from the camera angle as well because of that. We elected not to go with the high pod again today. With the rain, it's just not a good setup for cameras to operate, even though we have coverage for them. Just to deal with it in the pouring rain is not the greatest of ideas, so we try and avoid that to keep the equipment in line. We got a handball there for Southern Connecticut. And even assistant coach Luis Figueredo looking back at us and making it a signal to his arm as if like, why was it called so late? That's Ludwig with it now. Ludwig inside the El Jazzy. It's kicked out. Birdie now didn't seem to get the head on it the way he wanted to, but Florindo there to grab it. And then he's just dispossessed. That's twice now Jacob Rose just shoved Florindo. The first time wasn't called. The second time was called. It's just been quite inconsistent, folks, in terms of when these calls are being made. And it's thankfully no one has gotten hurt on some of these harder pushes and collisions when there has been no fouls called, because the number of fouls that have been called on these hard hits has been far and few, and there's been a lot of them today. And it looked like they were trying to get... Il Jazzy got called again on D'Acunha. And once more, I'm kind of just baffled by that one, too, because all that happened there is Il Jazzy went up for the ball, and D'Acunha leaned forward. There was no actual, push back from Il Jazzy, and then now right there, they were trying to get a call for Razzo. Other way come the Eagles with it. All you have to do is this last minute and a half. Detoli now's got it. Detoli trying to get around somebody. Flying in is Jean. He's trying to push him off the ball. He's pushing him. Detoli's got it in the corner. They're just going to try and keep it in there, I think, now. It's saved, and it goes the other way. That's Razzo with it, and now pushing it up with 1 minute remaining in the second half are the Owls. 50 seconds now. Southern Connecticut still in the backfield. Sierra Leglio. That one's called on Tenorio, and I agree with that one. He did kind of push him as he was going to the ground. And right back to it is Southern Connecticut. You cannot rest if you're the Eagles right here. Just try and break something up. Nassen's not able to get it. On the outside to Jean. Jean's got it. Jean with the cross. Inside. Header. And it's in the back of the net. Matt Surratt with the header with 33 seconds remaining in the second half. And this is going to go down more than likely as a tie. And the Eagles coaching staff, once again, besides themselves, because I think they wanted a foul called in the middle. Yeah, Luis Figueredo fired up with the side judge right there about something with some not-so-friendly words that we can't repeat here. And Andrea Birdie now having words with the refs. And now the head ref is going to be called over with a side talk, and now there's conversation happening on the bench. And we're going to get a yellow card on the Eagles bench now. I'm beside myself, folks, with this game and how it's played out today in terms of the no calls, the calls, and it leads to a Southern goal in the final minute. And this one's more than likely going to go down as a tie unless the Eagles are able to get something in these final 20 seconds as Botungi kicks it in deep. Over off the head of Tenorio. And now Juan's going to rush out to get it. A little bit of a push off from Birdie. And now 14 seconds left and Birdie's upset. And now we're going to get a clock stoppage with 10. Nope. No stoppage. Now the ref is chasing down Birdie. And the clock's just going to expire. I'm not quite sure what was going on. Andrea Birdie's going to get a call at the buzzer. The ref never signaled for a stoppage of time. Never mind. We are putting time back on the clock. There was no signal from the ref because Andrea Birdie retreated from the play. Never mind. We're not going to put time back on the clock. That is the final. And what a wild ending it was here today at Post University. And now Luis Figueredo was just told by the ref that keep it up, you're going to get a red card, which you don't want to get because then you're suspended for the next game. So unfortunately, the win streak for the Eagles comes to an end in a wild last minute. Now Denny El Jazzy having words with the ref. This was just honestly an unfortunate ending for both sides. It didn't have to end this way, and the reason it does end this way is because there was a lot, like I mentioned all game long, no calls. There were some calls that were very ticky-tacky, and there was just no consistency throughout the entire game, as now Ted Haley is having words with the head ref. I really have no more words to say in terms of what we witnessed here today, because down the stretch it was all Eagles, and then in that final minute or two, it was just chaos. It was pandemonium from both sides. And, you know, I think, like I mentioned earlier on, the tone was set early on that it was going to be physical, and they were going to allow them to play through it. And unfortunately, that's the result you get when you play through that, is you're not going to get a lot of those, you know, calls whichever way they go. So the final score today on that last second goal by Matt Surratt, 1-1. The Eagles' win streak comes to an end. They still haven't lost in their last 6 matches. However, Soren Jensen's shutout streak ends at 4. The Eagles' shutout streak ends at 5. Still a program record. It ties a program record for single goalkeeper. But the Eagles really, it felt like they had this one until the very last moment when things just went a little haywire at the end. But we appreciate you joining us for today's matchup. Mike Vesci on the Nest Network, brought to you by the CAC Network and brought to you on YouTube as well. Final score, we'll see you back here on Tuesday from Men's Soccer at 2 o'clock against Dominican. But the final score today between your Eagles and Southern Connecticut State University, it's going to be a 1-1 final here from Lemoy Field. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you on Tuesday.